This video is brought to you by patreon.com/worsttake. Get access to exclusive live streams and Discord servers, on-screen shoutouts, and early access to some videos when you join now. Help make sure that we can continue to make content like this by supporting the Patreon. Links are in the description down below. Do you hate Jed Wills? It seems like a lot of people in the Browns community don't like Jed Wills for one reason or the other. And that itself is something that makes it difficult to have actual conversations about Jed Wills. It's like this with a number of polarizing players on the Cleveland Browns. Jed Wills is no exception, right? And the problem with Jed Wills is that so many people dislike Jed Wills for what I would call dumb reasons, that it makes it impossible to actually evaluate where Jed Wills is not playing well and why that could be a problem for the Cleveland Browns. For example, some people don't like Jed Wills because he has a visor or because of how he wears his equipment during the game, or like how he stands in the huddle. Like, there are these little things that people get mad at with Jed Wills. One of the more overrated things with him that people get frustrated is the idea that he quits on plays. When you look at the tape, he doesn't really quit on plays. He just doesn't have great body language at times, which then makes people feel like he quits on plays. But I think the answer is kind of more obvious if you look for an actual football reason on why those clips start to exist. And I'll talk about them in this video. But that's what makes talking about Jed Wills so difficult, because it's hard to be critical of Jed Wills without a lot of people jumping on with things and criticisms of Jed that I just don't think are valid or true about him. So you end up having to spend half of anything you do talking about Jed Wills defending him from what is invalid criticism about him, just so you can talk about what you don't like about him. So I don't enjoy talking about Jed because of that, but I think there's a lot of interesting things to talk about when it comes to Jed that really need to be talked about, positively, sure, and negatively. And another thing that happens, right, when this many people don't like a player for reasons that don't feel about football or valid about the player, there are going to be people who catch on to that and do the exact opposite, which is defend that player uncritically because they don't like the people who criticize or have these critiques of Jed Wills, which leads to people saying stuff like Jed Wills is actually great. He's not. What Jed Wills is solid. He's a solid left tackle. And that statement is not going to make a single person happy. If you hate Jed Wills, you're not going to love that statement. If you love Jed Wills or defend Jed Wills chronically online, you're not going to love that statement. Jed Wills has to be either the worst thing you ever saw or the best thing you ever saw. And the truth, the honest to God truth is, he's just solid. And that has some good consequences and some bad consequences, because you have to look at what makes him solid. What makes him a solid left tackle is that he plays really well in space and run blocking, right? When he has to run and hit at the same time, he does a good job with that as long as he's locked in. And when he's locked in as a pass protector, he has really good hand technique, sometimes placement. Sometimes he's inconsistent with that. He gets beat inside far too often than I would like. But when he's locked in, when he feels good about the rhythm of which he's working with his hands, he plays well. The issue with Jed Wills, and the number one problem with Jed Wills in my mind, is on the flip side, when it comes to criticisms of Jed Wills, he's not necessarily the strongest player on the football field, but what makes it more of a problem, and what makes all of his issues more of a problem, is that Jed Wills is what I believe to be a horrible improviser. And I think that leads to like 90% of the clips that you see. I think most of the time when you see a clip online and it's Jed just standing there and he's not doing anything, it's not because he's quitting on the play. It's because he's just a bad improviser. And that means when the play breaks down, when things don't go the way that they're supposed to, he has a hard time figuring out what he can do to help. So what happens is that he gets overloaded, he thinks too much, and he kind of just ends up doing nothing because he's a bad improviser. And that has some bad consequences for this Browns team. And when you add a player who does not have the best strength and is not the greatest improviser in the world, you have matchups or concepts that teams can spam at him that can really cause him problems, which is why I think teams with more familiarity of Jed Wills do much better against Jed Wills. So that is my issue with Jed. It's not that he's lazy. I don't think he's lazy. It's not that he quits on the team or anything like that. I don't think that's why these things exist. It's that he's a bad improviser. When teams stunt or twist in his direction, he has a really hard time at times figuring out what he's supposed to do. Like if the play goes to plan and things are in the right place and Jed's doing what Jed's supposed to do, Jed is going to be pretty damn good on that play. But if one or two things break down and Jed is now got to figure it out for himself on the island or something, that's where Jed tends to struggle. He's just not a good improviser. To show you what I'm talking about, let's look at the film, because the film is actually pretty good on Jed. Let's show it. 4 years into watching Jed Wills tape, and sometimes I feel like I'm just beginning to understand what he does well and what he doesn't. This is tape of him against Nick Bosa, one of the best edge rushers in the NFL. And he does more than hold his own in this game, right? Now, this one, it's actually a pretty good set there by Jed. Like, as much as Jed gets beat inside, right, you just kind of want to see him ride somebody inside. So if he gets beat, he delays them a little bit, and he does a good job there. Unfortunately, wasn't enough, and that's kind of one of Jed's issues, is getting beat inside. But look here, Jed in space, right, does a great job in space. Slides that second level smooth, gets up there, huff, huff, huff. Look at that. Look at that. Boom. Engage with Warner. Lock him out. Pops a big run. Great job there. Great job there. This is him one-on-one with Nick Bosa. And look, great set. Great set. That penalty's not on him. Great set. Again, let's watch it again. Long arms him. And then even when Joe and Nick get some push back in him, does a great job of bunny hopping. Anchor, drop. Slow. That's what you want to see, right? Give ground slowly. That's what you want to see. Almost gets a holding call, but does a great job not clinching there, right? That's dangerous hold territory you can get into. But pop, and stop. All right, another one here. Look at how he just gets to the second level. Just great job here, bullying, right? Helps Michael Dunn push. Gets to that second level, push. Brown's offensive line kicked ass on that play. I don't know who ran the ball, but yeah, it was Jerome Ford. Yeah, Jerome Ford ran this shit to the wrong cab. This ain't about Jerome Ford. I mean, like, to be fair, Harrison Bryant doesn't really hold his own right there against Nick Bosa, of all people. But yeah, I think Jerome Ford was being too patient on that protection. You don't want to test this, right? You don't want to test this. You want to just get downhill. Right here, Jerome Ford should be in between the butts of Michael Dunn and Jed Wills. But he's out here testing it, right? Great job there. Second level, quick stuff, good bully stuff right there by Jed. Again, here against Nick Bosa. See how he does. Locks him out. Does a great job anchoring everything, right? Same thing again. Give ground slowly. This is a win for Jed. Right? Hover, hover. Okay, he's going to bull you. Hands, chest. Give ground slowly. Right? You see what Jed's doing with his legs, right? Where he's just giving up ground slowly. One little tiny step. Step, 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 step. And gives PJ a lot of time here. Unfortunately, Wide Taylor's getting beat down on the other side. Jed in space does a great job just seeing, making contact, ends up blocking two guys in this play. Right? Again, Jed does a great job looking for his man, finding it, doing something. Boom. You're gonna notice Jed does a great job identifying and finding opponents in space. Does a great job when somebody just tries to bull rush him, right? Don't try to get too technical on him, but try to bull rush him. He knows how to give ground slowly. His technique, his feet are fine there. Where Jed has issues is when things kind of go off script, right? He's kind of preparing for a wide set here to get on Nick Bosa. That doesn't happen like he thinks it is. Okay, now it's a twist. Oh shit, where am I at? And then you get the Jed standing up straight, right? This is what turns into a meme. But the reason this happens is because Jed is not a great improviser, right? The second this thing goes wrong, he needs to reset. He doesn't know what to do. He's not a good improviser. That's one of his Achilles heels as an offensive tackle, right? Same thing here. Randy Gregory goes inside. Instead of just like trying to switch this off, and maybe it's chemistry with Michael Dunn in this game, because I don't think that's Joel. Right, maybe that's the issue. Michael Dunn didn't pass off, and maybe he tried to pass off there. But this happens a lot with Jed, where like these twists get the best of him. You get him in space, it's pretty good. Does a good job there. All right. Again, another one. He's in space. Pretty good job there. And against Pittsburgh, get him in space. And then just to like back up the point I said about Jed not being the strongest guy, there's some examples in the clips before, but you can see it right here where, you know, he shouldn't have this hard of a time locking out a linebacker, right? Like he should really be able to hold that one down so that Jerome Ford can run by that. That really should be a battle he should win. And a lot of times he does, but you know, if he's not perfect with his feet, it happens to him because he's not the strongest guy in the world. That's the tape on Jed. It's up and down tape. There's things he's good at. There's things he's not. There's things that make you excited about him. There's things that drive you crazy. And that's kind of what Jed Wills is. He's all of those things. Everything you say about Jed Wills, positive or negative, is probably true on some level. And that's what makes Jed Wills so frustrating. Again, Jed Wills is a good player, but a flawed player. And we love to discuss sports in a binary. Either you are good or you're bad. Either you win a championship or you failed, right? We don't like to talk about the spectrum of results that can happen with a player's career, with a team's season, but these things do exist. It is possible to appreciate what a player brings to the table. With Jed Wills, it's starting level left tackle play, while also pointing out and not overlooking his flaws, which is he's a bad improviser on a team that's going to ask their tackles to improvise a lot. I don't know if he's a great fit for this Cleveland Browns offense and a great fit to be the left tackle for somebody like Deshaun Watson in a offense, like Ken Dorsey's, that's going to be more centered around putting that tackle on an island one and also allowing the quarterback to have more freedom to improvise. That is a serious concern that I have for Jed Wills. Like, yes, he could turn it around, figure everything out and fix everything and be fine. But this is the player that he has showed himself to be over 4 NFL seasons. I would be foolish to think that this is going to change out of nowhere. Look at his most successful season, 2020, when Baker was doing really well, playing under structure with Kevin Stefanski. Jed Wills played really well. In the tail end of 2024 with Joe Flacco in there playing under structure. Not really an improviser. Jed Wills played really well blocking for Joe Flacco when he was in there, the limited times that he was, because he was in and out pretty much all the back end of the season. I think some of the solutions the pro Jed Wills crowd throws out are just kind of pipe dreams, in my opinion. Like, a lot of people feel like you could just throw him to the right side and he fix all his problems. We've seen this not be the solution for so many tackles. Like, Jonah Williams is the most recent tackle that people were like, oh, just throw him to the right side and see what happens. He's going to be much better. And it didn't work out. He was still Jonah Williams. I think if you throw Jed Wills to the right side, he's still Jed Wills, because his problems aren't really, his biggest problems at least, aren't really about his hand placement, aren't really about his footwork. It's about his inability to improvise. And whether he's on the right side or the left side, that's not going to manifest itself because he's switching what hand he punches with. That is my concern with Jed. He brings a lot to the table. When he's in rhythm, when he's playing under structure, he's really good. The issue with Jed is when things start to break down, it becomes more of a mixed bag with him. So that's my thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.